two women who are putting political pressure on autocrats. Svetlana Tikhanovskaya, the Belarusian opposition leader who ran for president after her husband was jailed, and Yulia Navalnaya. Both of these women are in position to make political change. I'm Dr. K, a political scientist, and like in the past, I'm going to take a current event and look a little bit deeper. And this time, it's about gender and politics in Belarus and Russia. In the coverage of Alexei Navalny's death and his recent funeral, there was a lot of talk about his wife's position. The investigative journalist, Krista Grozev, told BBC that Navalny's wife would need to learn the role of a politician, and that Russia would probably have to learn to accept a woman as an opposition leader. And that will be embarrassing for Putin, according to him. In both Belarus and Russia, there are long-standing gender stereotypes. During the past 2 decades, women's rights have been eroded. In 2017, Russia decriminalized domestic violence. In late 2023, Putin urged Russian women to have 8 or more children. Political challenges from women affect leaders like Vladimir Putin or Alexander Lukashenko because they expose vulnerabilities or deficiencies in their control. In Russia's authoritarian political system, power is concentrated in the hands of Vladimir Putin. Security forces, a subservient judiciary, a controlled media environment, and elections are manipulated. So why do autocrats keep women from politics? Because it keeps them in power. Maintaining traditional power structures by excluding women ensures that the existing power dynamics remain. Excluding women is also part of controlling social change. If you're in power, you maintain the status quo. By excluding women, you limit opposition, reducing the number of voices capable of challenging any regime effectively. By excluding women, you're consolidating ideological control by controlling the narrative around gender roles, making it more difficult for an alternative. And power and control in authoritarian regimes are based on fear or assumptions. And when this power is tested and it doesn't stand up, it can end up toppling a regime. And historically, women have been at these tipping points. The death of Masha Amini, the education of Malala, the Soviet-Afghan war protests played a part in the fall of the Soviet Union. Controlling women keeps men in power. To navigate politically against leaders like Putin or Lukashenko and receive the wider public support, women often have to identify the limits of their culture and move within these limits, sometimes using customs and traditions as leverage. Navalnaya and Tikhanovskaya are politically legitimized through their husbands, which fits the cultural narrative of being thrust into a role that they never pursued. Tikhanovskaya was often described as a former housewife turned revolutionary, and this underestimation initially helped her and the 2 women that she was running with come as far as they did in Belarus because Alexander Lukashenko simply did not take them seriously. In early March, planning her husband's funeral, Navalnaya was able to leverage religious norms that helped ensure her husband had a proper funeral. But pundits on Russian state television also knew how to hit back using these same cultural norms, suggesting that Alexei Navalny's wife was wearing too much makeup and that she should have covered her hair to mourn Navalny in line with Russian Orthodox tradition. Vladimir Putin has problems with women, and I think I know why. The Kremlin's security apparatus, the FSB, and before that the KGB, and other groups have long studied their adversaries. But in paternalistic, chauvinistic societies, the focus was always on men. Men have dominated leadership roles in the West forever. From this intensive surveillance, the concept of reflexive control was born, a technique to influence an opponent's decision-making process. Is it possible that, like pain tolerance research, seatbelt safety, heart attack symptoms, the basis for all the research on reflexive control only considers men, and decades of research overlooked that women might not have the same reactions or motivations? Putin was in the KGB, and his interactions with female world leaders have been marked by controversy and interpreted as attempts to assert dominance. Maybe because he isn't used to not having leverage. The incident involving Putin's dog and Merkel, known for her fear of dogs, and the tense relationship Putin and Hillary Clinton have are just two examples of his weird behavior. Navalnaya and Tikhanovskaya may be a threat as they represent a change that the leaders of their countries can't control. They do represent different things politically. Svetlana Tikhanovskaya has openly condemned the Russian invasion of Ukraine, while Yulia Navalnaya may carry on her husband's focus of criticism of Russian policy towards Ukraine that has been a broader critique of the Kremlin's corruption and authoritarianism. What they do have in common is that they would both likely face significant repression, including the risk of arrest, violence, and harassment in their home countries. These women's actions are worth following as they show women's political engagement in authoritarian contexts. I'm Dr. K. Stick with me for the science beyond the politics.